friends, what's up and welcome to another session of English literature. So friends, today's topic of discussion is the line by line explanation or analysis of Ode to Autumn by John Keats. So basically, in this session I'm going to discuss the summary of Ode to Autumn by John Keats. Actually, this is a requested session, so thank you so much for requesting this. Before starting discussing the summary, we have to know a few important things about Ode to Autumn. So, Ode to Autumn was one of the famous odes by John Keats and it was composed on 19th September 1819 and the publication date of Ode to Autumn is 1820. Friends, this is the full poem. You can take a screenshot. Friends, one important thing, Ode to Autumn is also called as To Autumn, but it's better to call it Ode to Autumn. Okay. So now let's start discussing it. So at first we have stanza 1, and from stanza 1 at first we have the line season of mists and mellow fruitfulness. So what's the meaning of that? Here season means autumn season. Okay. So here Keats wants to say that autumn is the season of mist. It is the season when mists gather on grounds, on trees, on everywhere in the morning and in the evening. It is also the season of ripe fruits. Here in this line, mellow means ripe and fruitfulness means in autumn season in England, fruits ripen. Okay, so now we have line number 2 to 5. Close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and blaze with fruit the vines that round the thatched eaves run, to bend with apples and most cottage trees. So here basically the poet means John Keats wants to convey the idea that the maturing sun means the mature sun or the warm rays of sun ripens the fruits. So here autumn and the sun are working together for the ripening of all kinds of fruits. Okay. They are conspiring each other that how to load trees with fruits. And thus they load the vine creepers with grapes. So actually here vine creepers means grapevines, and these types of creepers are actually grows along the eaves of the village cottage thatches. Then the poet goes on to say that the apple trees are bent nearly to the ground with their heavy weight of apples. The apple trees which are growing in the cottage gardens are covered with mosses. Okay. So now we have line 6 to 11 of stanza 1. And fill all fruits with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel, to set budding more and more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has overbrimmed their clammy cells. So here also the poet says that all fruits are filled with sweetness in autumn. The gourd grows bigger and bigger, the hazelnuts are filled with sweet kernel. Many flowers bloom in autumn and the bees suck the sweetness of these flowers. For the bees, it seems that these flowers represent the continuation of summer. Okay. So though through the long and warm summer days, the bees have collected so much honey that the cells in their hives are overfull. And autumn also provides more flowers so that the bees can also withdraw more sweetness from these flowers. Okay. Now we have stanza second, line 12 to 15. Who hath not seen thee oft amid the storm? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor, thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind. So here actually in this stanza, the poet describes the occupations of autumn. Okay, here autumn is personified under four pictures. First as a winnower, second as a reaper, third as a gleaner, and fourthly as a cider presser. All the occupations like winnowing, reaping, gleaning, cider pressing, they are performed by women. So that's why it is said that autumn is here seen as a woman. Okay. In the line 12, here actually the poet questions the autumn that who didn't see you? Everyone can see you if that person go to the field and see the women who are engaged in the work of winnowing. And while they are engaged in doing winnowing, then the gentle breeze ruffles the locks of their hair. Friends, here winnowing means cleaning the grains, okay? Trashing the grains, we can say. Separating the chaff or husk from the grains are called winnowing, okay? So now we have line 16 to 18. Or on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while the hook spares the next sweat and all its twined flowers. So here in these lines, autumn is seen as a reaper who has been engaged in reaping corns, but in doing so, she falls asleep because of the smell of the poppies. Okay, so thus the next row of corn remains unreaped because she falls asleep. Now we have line 19 to 22. And sometimes, like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head across brook, or by a cider press with patient look. Thou watchest the last oozings hours by hours. Okay. So here, autumn is seen as a gleaner who collects grains from the field when the crops has been removed. And because of the heavy weight of grains on the gleaner's head, the gleaner works steadily alone. Okay. And then the autumn is personified as a woman who extracts juice from apple, and that woman extracts juice from the apple with the help of a wooden cider press, and she continuously watches the drops of juices, apple juices or cider. Now we have stanza 3, line 23 to 24. Where are the songs of spring? Where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too. So here, in these two lines, the poet remembers or becomes nostalgic and remembers the sweet songs of spring which are absent in autumn. He questions that where are the songs of spring in autumn? Then in the next moment he says that we don't have to think about the songs of spring because we have the music of autumn also. Okay. So now let's explain line number 25 to 26. Foil bird clouds bloom the soft dying day and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. So here actually from line number 25 to 33, the poet describes the time or describes the things from which we can listen, we can hear the songs of autumn, okay, or the sounds of autumn. So here in these two lines, the poet says that the sounds of autumn are heard when the day is dying gently, means in the evening time. Okay. Actually in the evening time, we can see a rose color, a rosy hue in the clouds because of the light of the setting sun. Okay. So here actually the poet wants to describe the evening time. So now we have line 27 to 23. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats moan among the river shallows, borne aloft or sinking as the light wind leaves or dies, and full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne. Hedge crickets sing, and now with tremble soft the red-breast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. So as Keats is talking about the sounds, the songs of autumn, so that's why here he mentions about the buzzes of the gnats, lambs bleating, then grasshoppers chirping. All these things are drawn out here in order to describe the songs of autumn. Okay. Then there comes the delicate song of the twittering of the swallows in the sky. Actually, swallow is a kind of bird. Okay. So these are the glorious music of autumn. And with this, we ended up discussing Ode to Autumn. Hope this video will help you. So thank you so much for watching this video.